It's so fun to get together and have these topics to explore. We never seem to know where we're going to end up.
Yeah.
But we have gotten into the habit of starting with an introduction. So I'll let you go first.
Okay. Hi, everybody. If you don't know me, my name is Shu-Yi Scott. I'm a cello teacher and I live in Austin, Texas. How about you, Merlin?
Yeah, my name is Merlin Thompson. I'm a piano teacher. I live in Calgary, Alberta. And if you want to find out more about me, you can do that on my website, merlinthompson.com. What do you talk about today?
Well, I was thinking while I was enjoying my coffee this morning. I thought it would be nice to talk about a couple of my students who really love cello, that they love to practice, they love music, and they've been with me for a couple of years. But one thing that is still kind of a challenge is to help them to slow down for their home practice. And their parents have also communicated with me like, I can't get him to slow down. Although he knows what to practice, he'll say, "Oh, Miss Julie said uh, G major scale ascending 10 times. So blah, 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 blah." I think we spent enough time talking about what to pay attention to, but he still tends to rush through his practice. Maybe you have some ideas.
Oh, that's excellent. And it's really something that shows up a lot. And I think for me, what's important is that we kind of look to see, first of all, where does it come from? And I think there are a number of sources, but for me, the one that really resonates the most is that I think resonates with all of us when it comes to
Mm-hmm.
whatever we're doing,
Mm-hmm.
is that we're all looking for the shortcut. We're all looking for the most expedient way to get things done. For me, if somebody gives me a task, I don't think, oh, how can I prolong this as long as possible? How can I take, a year to do this when it should only take 9 months? So we all have this idea that we're looking for shortcuts. And even us as teachers, I think we can say that what we're trying to do is to shortcut the student's process of going from wherever they are to an improved place. So that's, for me, that's really the starting place right there.
Mm-hmm. Right. Now when I'm teaching him, I feel I'm super conscious about not demonstrating something too fast or up to the performance speed. I would present to him even slower and showing him, oh, this finger before you shift, you need to feel it this way, and before you go cross to a different string, how does your thumb feel like? That seemed to work this week. So I was really happy that he took that cue. Um, but I was wondering how that works for piano.
Oh, well, we have the same thing. We can take our time to use with motions, we can exaggerate motions, we can do all of that kind of stuff. But I think what always happens with students, and I'll come back to this, they're looking for the shortest way to get to their destination possible.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and part of that for me, what is it about the shortcut? Well, that they assume that speed is the fastest way to get there.
Yeah,
And
right.
so the speed thing is really is a powerful one. But at the same time, I'm thinking, oh, so you have a student who is going to rush. I think it's almost incumbent upon us as teachers to validate that that's a recognizable way of going forward. But it's only one. And the problem, I think, is that if you only have one solution to whatever it is that you're working on, well, you have one solution, but it may not actually cover all of the areas that you're trying to cover at the same time. So
Mm-hmm.
I've used an expression, I call it multiple ownership.
Mm-hmm. Right.
For a long time. So, how many ways do you have of challenging yourself in your practice? So, fast is a great one. It's not the only one. So, I'd want to know how else are you going to challenge your practice as opposed to trying to get rid of the fast one. Because I do say this to students, nobody wins the Tchaikovsky piano competition by playing slow and deliberate.
Mm-hmm. That's true. Yes. Just now, when you mentioned shortcut, I immediately said the slow practice because to me, shortcut is slow practice. So I kind of jump at it and said that. That's kind of my, it's my teacher's mind, but it definitely not the student's mind. So that's why I started to ponder about assigning this student 10 times of something or 5 times of something if he felt like finishing that right amount of repetition equals to good practice, then naturally he will try to speed through the process. And so I want to go back to what you just mentioned about multiple ownership. um, do you mean that owning not only playing fast but owning playing some other ways in his practice?
Yeah. So, at the piano, I'm typically doing things like playing as fast as you possibly can, but then also being critical about what happens when you play as fast as you can. So it's not just about, oh, did you play as fast as you could? Were you actually evaluating what happened when you played it really fast? So there's that. Um, um, Playing slow, then, well, what happened when you played so well? Part of that evaluation might be, oh, I felt a lot of stress. I felt under a lot of pressure. I felt like I really wasn't in control. So it's not just the musical result that I'm looking at. I'm also looking at the personal result as well.
Mm-hmm.
And what's behind the practicing? What's going on? Someone practices fast, they feel positive. They feel like they're really contributing. Someone practicing slow might feel like, oh, I'm being punished. I'm I'm not a good person. So it has to do with their identity. But I'll add on a couple more things like playing with your eyes closed,
Yeah, I
right?
do that all the time.
Yeah, that's a very easy one. Playing with your eyes closed. What else have I got? Um, I
Do you
think
do for piano? Do you do like single hand or?
all the time. Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely. Single hand and hands together with the score, without the score. Those are all things that I'm always doing. Um, I even do think, when I get really creative, I'm doing, can you do the Michael Jackson version and the Taylor Swift version?
I like that.
I'm just going to take it out of the box. I'm not
Yeah.
going to work on it. And I guess one of the things that I keep coming back to is working on situations that you want to change by changing that particular situation. Like, you don't want the student to practice fast, so you go to slow. But for me, it's too much within the same area. Leaving all that alone and going, how would Taylor Swift play this, or Adele play this? Or something like that. So you take it completely out of the realm of the intellect, and maybe you go to something that's more whimsical or imaginative. And so instead of trying to fix something intellectually, you fix something with your imagination.
Well, I'm so glad you mentioned that because I think I will fail. I will totally fail the suggestion to play a piece like uh, the singers you just mentioned because I don't know who they are. But I think that's a very good example of what you're saying because ownership is such an important focus that we often I think I can easily forget when in a lesson because we tend to fall into the give mode and if we forget to check on if student really feels that they own that moment, own how to play a piece. And while you instill that sense of ownership, you actually do help them to focus, to zoom into the details of the whole process. I think if they don't have an opportunity to think, to zoom in, or to be guided into a smaller chunk of that whole process of music making, that's when they will rush through, right? So I think for the piano, you have both hands on the keyboard. On the cello, I did do this with him. I asked him to sing the notes without bowing, only move the left hand. And
Mhm.
we both discovered that was extremely hard for him.
Yeah.
He was relying on the bow to hear, to find the pitch. Actually, I would say 80% of the time, a lot of string players, they think about the notes, but they're really not hearing or not focusing on the big half of their the other side of coordination, which is a dynamics or articulation. I like your ideas about putting somebody, some character's hat, give them an idea to, well, how would this note sound now? How would that melody sound now? With maybe even Harry Potter.
Yeah. So taking things completely out of the context and using something different, not, I think part of our challenge as teachers is that we know what shortcuts are. And so we can see that we should say, oh, if I could just get this student to do slow practice, everything would be solved. That would be so great. So our knowledge can sometimes get us in trouble because what we think is the shortcut is not actually the shortcut for the student.
Right. Because that, even though we know that's the best, we think is the best way for the cure or for the,
Right.
it actually creates conflict because if a student's mind, if they don't buy into it, it doesn't matter. It will
Doesn't
still
matter.
be, because they're playing fast, we want them to go slow. So that's already the two end. So I really like giving them the opportunity to think it through rather than telling them to slow down and play complete, opposite way. How about the parents?
For parents, I think parents come in again from a place of understanding that's close to the teacher, I would say, probably. So they can see the teacher's rationale and logic for introducing certain strategies for the student. And so the parent may feel like, oh, if the student doesn't fulfill those, what's going on? The student's not going to progress, and I'm not a good parent, and all those kinds of things. So those things happen as well. So I think it's important for parents to understand that. Again, it's this idea of ownership and who's in charge. It's like, I said to my student last week, he's having the middle of a lesson, and I can tell he's just kind of relying on whatever good luck to get him in the right spot. And finally I just said, who's in charge of the learning on your side of the room? And he said, oh, I am. I said, oh, okay. Well, then could you just pay attention to these few things for just a moment? But it took that kind of just stop. Where are we at? Who's in charge? Okay, yeah, I'm ready to take in charge. And then it was really funny because we had a little discussion about his brain.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I can see that at certain moments, your brain is like an explorer out in the universe somewhere. And I said, this is all really good, except if we need your brain right here, that's not good. And he said, well, sometimes my brain doesn't listen to me.
Multiple brain.
But what a great statement, because he's absolutely right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Sometimes who we are, my brain or my emotions or what I'm trying, it doesn't listen to me. And so taking the time to just say, okay, I'm going to just kind of pull things together here. It might take a few minutes. It might take 30 seconds to do that. But what a worthwhile thing to do.
Right, right. Right. I think like um I mean maybe following that I can see the student of because he's really musical and he loves cello. Um the the problem is that when he's practicing it seems like he's thinking about where he's going. He knows his finishing line and he
Right.
just want to go to the finishing line. Um and if we just say you're not practicing so enough, it's not I see that it's not the most effective way for communication because he'll see that, oh, I see the finishing line, I'm just gonna get there. What do you mean I need to slow down? Um, and I remember the other fact that the mom shared with me. She tends to be just really frustrated, and because her interpretation is that he always want to he's always fast. Since a baby, he runs fast. He and anything he does is in a fast speed. So maybe that has something to to interpret into if he's trying to do things fast, he's a fast person. And in a lesson, if I don't if I ignore that, ignore his natural tendency, and kept telling him, "You need to slow down. You need to slow down." I'm not sure if that will be the best way to find a common ground between him and me.
Yeah, I think you've really nailed it. We're talking about his identity, we're talking about his authentic self, and we're asking him to expand from his authentic self, but maybe going to slow is not the best place. Maybe just to relax fast would be better,
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to going the other end of the extreme. So he's got this extreme fast on one side. Let's go extreme slow. Well, maybe
Mm-hmm.
that's too far away for him. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
just doing relaxed fast would be enough. And really paying attention to, yeah, if he does everything fast, that's not a bad thing. That's
Right.
a
Not.
good thing. Yeah. When, I look at kids when they're adults, and it's too, if they can do things quickly, nobody's going to complain about that.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to say that's a great skill. But somebody else might say, but what other skills do they have as well? And that brings us back to that whole multiple ownership kind of idea.
Exactly. So multiple ownership, authenticity, and I like that when you just now said relaxed, fast, because when that's exactly what happened the last lesson was we just stopped talking about what's so good about slow practice, but but talk about, and I would ask him, uh, do you feel your thumb is stiff or loose when you did this shift in humorous? That's what he's working on. At first, it was very hard for him to describe that, and then as he tried a couple of times, then he would tell me, "Oh yeah, I think it was not placed at the right place," and that actually helped him to look into the details, and he did slow down without knowing it.
Right.
So I was very happy about that. It's not a command coming from me, but it's giving him the opportunity to find his own way of into that relaxation focus. And yeah, so it's fun. It's fun to hear we come to the similar um, ideas here. But I'm curious when if a student who say moving the hand rushing through on keyboard, I mean, wouldn't they hit the wrong note and sometimes not? I mean, wouldn't that be a pretty obvious signal to tell them that they're moving too fast?
Yeah, the momentum of your personality is an intense one. And then there's the momentum of the music as well. And so those are two things that really propel us through pieces, and especially pieces that are fast, like Rondo alla Turca, we've got whatever.
Yeah.
Well, of course you're going to play the piece as fast as you possibly. Getting to that piece, though, is a fairly lengthy process that involves lots of miniature steps, I would say. So, I would say, right from the very beginning, I have students that want to play fast, and I encourage them to. And I also encourage, but I come back to this, I think I said it at the beginning, this critical thing. So when you play fast, how well do you play? And, I think most of them are pretty honest. They'll say, oh, yeah, there's a couple smudgy notes here and there and so on. So for me, that's all I need to hear.
Mm.
That if their awareness is similar to mine, then I say we're fine. It's not a matter of they're not aware of what's going on, but they're choosing what it is that they want to pay the most attention to.
Right. What if it's the case that you ask them, if actually if it's the case that they would their answer is I don't know if they don't. So what do you how do you guide the students who say I don't know, it just sounds messy.
Yeah, that's a good question. And the I don't know shows up really early on. So and it's a reflection of asking the wrong question and asking the wrong question at the wrong time. So the best time to ask a question is before students play,
Mm.
not after they play. And you can ask the question after they play when they've had lessons with you for, say, 5 years. That may be right. But prior to that, you have to ask the question or give the direction before they play, which is, let's listen to see if you have every note clear or you have certain notes that are kind of fused together. So
Uh-huh.
let's listen for that. So what have you done? You've given them a framework then for evaluating their playing. And what happens when students say, I don't know, is what they don't know is what you would like to hear them say. That's what they don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to, for me, for a long time, I'm giving the framework each time for listening so that we were on the same thing because to be really honest, I could be listening for a million different things and that they might by chance happen on the one that I'm prioritizing, which might be, playing the notes clearly. They might be, it's just there's too many things. They might be thinking, is he thinking about my hand position? Is it my arm position? Is it my posture? Is it the tone I'm making? Is it the speed? Is it the beat? Which one of those? Oh, I'll just say I don't know because it's a safe answer.
Right. There are, like you said, there are so many possible reasons behind the I don't know. That's true. Yeah, that's why I don't know is always the hardest answer for for a teacher to face, right? When they say I don't know, it could be I don't want to go on with this direction, or I truly don't know, I need help, or I don't know and I don't want to know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a very safe answer. And my automatic response is, I can understand why you would say that. I may not say it out loud, but I say to myself, the student says, I don't know. I can understand why they would say that. So I'm very careful about setting things up proactively. For a long time, I set things up proactively so that students have the framework in mind before they launch into whatever exploration.
Right. So that reminded me of my the music education professor I studied with at UT Austin, Robert Duke. He always talks about setting up the student for success, but it's every tiny little bit of even a gesture or even just the putting your finger onto the instrument, just that one micro step. If we guide them with positive energy and positive emotion, if the every step is successful with all this good emotion, good knowledge, then they will follow with a more successful path to play this song.
Yeah, so it's interesting where we've come because we started off, what do you do with a student who practices fast all the time?
Yes.
And where we are here, if we're looking at how do we wrap this session up, but for me, what stands out is student identity and authenticity, and making sure that what we're doing matches that particular student. I'm going to pass it to you. What's be something else that we've talked about that kind of impacts what students are doing?
So I think from your multiple ownership, it brings out so many possible ways in designing my instruction. I can ask a student, well, if some character, like you said, some singer or some character playing this piece, how would they sound like? And I think that gives the student the freedom and the ownership to recreate something they have done, but they have never thought about doing in a different way. That could be a really fun tactic to for practice and for teaching. I think it's still coming back to this main idea we keep visiting, that recognize what's already there instead of trying to make them change to what we teachers want. That's really good.
I think, going from that quick student who's got the shortcuts, they're already, what will I say, they're loaded with shortcuts already. So that's a good thing. And I imagine that, for any student acquiring skills that are outside their most comfortable place is really a long-term thing. So, you mentioned 2 years with this student been working on this particular thing. For me, it's a 5-year project.
Yes, yes. Yeah, how can I expect 2 years to change a fast running kid to a slow and prudent and careful musician? I think that's, yeah, very nice.
So if the teacher has a good idea of, what it means, I like this idea of setting up the student for success. I think we'll acknowledge that part of that success comes from acknowledging who that student is and what they bring to their instrument. That's an important part of the success. And then the other part is, okay, what else can we bring into this conversation or this exploration so that this student comes out with a variety of strategies by the time, they get to X level. By the time they get to year 5, might be an easy one.
Right, and also for me, what helps me a lot is to ask the parent what their thoughts are. From the mom to tell me, knowing he's always a fast-paced person, really helped me to gain better, more understanding. We definitely should always communicate with the parents also. Very nice.
Thanks. Well done.